Hiya everybody, do-it-yourself gourmet here today. Got a pan getting nice and hot. Got a couple of pats of salted butter going in. And today, ooh, you hear that sizzle? Today, we are making ribeye. Nice, grassy-fed, organic, frou-frou ribeye. Getting that butter melted. Now normally you do it with oil. That's what most people are used to. But when you're cooking a gourmet piece of meat, sometimes I like to use butter. There we go. Turn that flame up good and hot. We're going to let that butter get nice and toasty. We're going to let it get nice and hot. And then we're going to throw the steak right on it. Going to render that fat out. Let it sizzle the heck out of life on one side. And then we're going to flip it over and do the same thing. Now as that butter heats up, the solids are going to begin to separate. That fluffy bit of creamy top is going to start to break down just a tad. And that's what we want it to do. Because on this one, we want the oil to render. And that's just about where we want it. And now, as the solids get nice and toasted, here it comes. Bam, lay it right down. We're going to swirl it around a little so that the temperature breaks itself and doesn't heat up too hot, because that butter is right at the point. You lower the heat just a tad and you're going to let it sizzle. You're going to let it sizzle and shake, and it's going to get crispy on the bottom. That's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. Move it around a tad. Keep that butter working. That way it's not overheating. Because you don't want the butter to overheat and burn. That's not fun. But you do want it right on that balance where the butter is nice and toasty and it imparts that nice, creamy, ever so slightly nutty flavor from a properly clarified in the pan butter. Now we got that heat on a medium high. That's where it's supposed to be. We're going to let it sit here for a couple of minutes because that's what it has to do. And now we're going to keep the filming going, but we're going to cut and come back when it's time to flip, and then you'll see the rest of the fun. Alright, now it's time for the shake up. We're going to give it a flip over. Ooh, look at that crispy goodness. That is some nice rendered fat and some nice seared meat. That is going to sit there and seal in the juices. We're going to do the same for just a couple of minutes to this side, and I'll tell you, this bugger is going to be ready to go and hot and fresh. Ooh, looking forward to enjoying this one. Give it a test, see how it goes. Now, I'm going to turn the heat down because here is where we let it cook slowly. And that's why it's not going to overcook. Because if you do it too fast at this point, after you've got the sears, then you're just going to overcook the heck out of it. This is where you got to let the meat kind of stew in its own juice a little bit inside the sears of the fillets. And now, as it's been there for a minute or two on low, when you're about to finish it off, that way you deglaze the juices back into the fillet, you fire it back up to high for just a couple seconds, maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds. Put it flat on the pan, let it sear a bit. Now you're going to want to let the meat rest as well. So this is where we're going to check it. We're going to give it a flip over and see how it's doing. The meat is pretty nice and it's looking like it's about medium rare. There's firmness testing that you can do, and when it springs back but doesn't feel mushy, that's right about the place where you want to stop and take it off the heat. And that is how you cook the ribeye. Do it yourself gourmet, folks. We'll see you next time.